Hey guys, welcome back to codingsanta. Today we have a video tutorial about Java OOP, classes and objects. Now what exactly is OOP? OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. Procedural programming, which is followed by other coding languages, is about writing methods that perform operations on data. However, object-oriented programming is quite different. Instead, we create objects that contain both the data and methods. Object-oriented programming has many benefits over procedural programming, the biggest being that it is faster and easier to execute and provides a clearer structure for the code. OOP also makes it possible to make the code easier to maintain, modify, and debug. OOP rids the Java code of repetitions and makes it possible for us to create fully reusable applications with less code and less time to make them. Now the two main aspects of OOP are classes and objects, but what exactly are they and what differentiates them? So a class is like a template for objects, and the objects are instances of a class. So for example, our class could be a car, while our objects could be brands of cars, such as Toyota, Honda, or BMW. Now what's unique about these objects is that they will inherit all the variables and methods that are found in the class. So Honda, Toyota, and BMW will all have the same variables and methods that are found in the larger car class. Now let's take a deeper dive into classes and objects. Now that we have a basic understanding of objects and classes, it's time to apply them into coding. So to start our program, as always, we would need to first define a class. So to do that, you do public class main, followed with a bracket. And then every class needs a main method in order for it to run. So let us add a main method in. And so you would do that just by writing what is on the screen right now. Now let's add a variable in our class, so let's just do something simple, int x equals 5. And now we want to create an object, so to do that we would take the class name, which is main, do main, and then we want to name our object, so let's just do my object following standard variable formatting. So this is just the name that you're giving your object, it could really be anything. And then you want to use the keyword new, and this is essentially telling Java to create an instance of the class, which essentially creates the object. And then again, we would put the class name followed by parentheses and a semicolon. And so now we've created our first object. And so as you recall earlier in the tutorial, we know that objects will essentially inherit the variables that are in the class. So this object here will be able to access our x variable. So let's say we wanted to test it out, we can do a simple printing line. And now to call the variable, we can't just do x, we would do my object, which would be the name of your object, and then .x, and this would essentially call it, and it would call the x variable. And assuming everything is done right, this will print out 5. And so as we can see in the console, it did indeed print out 5. Alright, so this is a pretty simple setup. Keep in mind you can make as many objects as you want, so we could make my object 2, and this object would also have access to the int x, and so in here we would just do my object 2.x, and this would also return 5. And so as you can see in the console, we have 5 returned. And so this is just a simple one class setup. Now that we've essentially gone over the basics on objects, let's take a deeper dive into what we can do with classes. So one of the great things about Java is you can actually make multiple classes in one Java file. So to do that, we would just do class. We wouldn't do public since you can only have one public class. And let's just name the second and set it up very similarly to the first class. Again, we need a main method in order for it to run. So public static void main. And so this is just setting up our main method. And again, here we want to create another object. So this time what we could do is we can actually create an object from main. So we could do something very similar to the first example. We could do myObject3 equals new main. And so you can see how even though we're not in the main class, we're in a different class, we can still access the X variable and anything else that's in the main class. And so you can see that this is helpful in reducing code and essentially streamlining the process. And so similar to the first thing, we can again print out, and we can do myObject3 here. And this will essentially just print out the value of the X in the main class. And so we should also get 5 here. And as you see in the console, we get 5 again. Now a cool thing about Java is you can actually do it in different files. So let's say we wanted to create a different Java file. We could do second.java. And so this essentially we're creating another Java file. Let it open up, and we can take our code here, delete it from here. And we can put it in this second, and then we can give it the public since it's in its own Java class file. And so this will work perfectly again. And as you can see, we get 5. So you can see there's multiple ways you can use it. We went over the way to have 2 classes on a file. You can have as many classes as you want, or you can have them on separate files. That pretty much covers the basics on classes and objects. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, please leave a like and subscribe.